Hello everyone. In this video, I am Dr. Aishwarya Balab going to discuss about potassium sparing diuretics. Potassium sparing diuretics. These diuretics increase sodium and chloride excretion without a concomitant increase in the urinary excretion rate of potassium. These agents are known as potassium sparing or potassium saving diuretics or anticholinergic agents. They work in the distal convoluted tubules of the kidney. There are mainly two classes of potassium sparing diuretics. First one is direct acting diuretics, for example, triamcinolone and amiloride. Second class is aldosterone antagonists, example is spironolactone. Properties and uses of potassium sparing diuretics. These agents are not potent diuretics when used alone, but when combined with a thiazide, for example, aldactizide, they reduce potassium loss, increase sodium excretion, minimize alkalosis. The onset of diuresis with combination therapy is much more rapid than with spironolactone alone. First, we will see the direct acting potassium sparing diuretics. Two drugs in the class of direct acting diuretics are triamcinolone and amiloride. Individually, amiloride and triamcinolone exert a mild diuretic effect and are usually used in combination with thiazides or loop diuretics. In vitro experiments have shown that they exert a diuretic effect by blocking an epithelial sodium channel in principal cells of the late distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct. Both drugs are weak organic bases and inhibit epithelial sodium channel in a voltage and pH dependent manner. Inhibition occurs because amiloride and triamcinolone bind to negatively charged regions of the sodium channel in the epithelial sodium channel. The greater potency, approximately 100-fold in vitro of amiloride, is probably due to the fact that it is a stronger base and is therefore more extensively protonated at physiologic pH than triamcinolone. So, amiloride is more potent than triamcinolone due to its stronger base nature as it gets more easily or extensively protonated at physiological pH. And the major mechanism of action, how these direct acting potassium sparing diuretics act, is they actually inhibit the or block the block the epithelial sodium channel by voltage or pH dependent. And as they are the weak bases, they will actually bind to the negatively charged regions of the sodium channel in the epithelial sodium channel. So sodium channel inhibitors block the reabsorption of sodium ion and inhibit the secretion of potassium ion. The net result is increased sodium and chloride ion excretion in the urine and almost no potassium excretion. As a consequence, amiloride and triamcinolone can be used to offset the effect of other diuretics that result in loss of potassium. This is the structure of triamcinolone. Activity is retained if an amine group is replaced with a lower alkyl amine group. So you can see there are mainly three amine groups are there on the structure of triamcinolone, that is 2,4,7 triamino 6 aryl pteridine. So here these amino groups should be retained, or you can replace with the lower alkyl amines also, then activity, that is diuretic activity, will be retained. The amino groups must be unsubstituted for the activity. Introduction of a paramethyl group on the phenyl ring. So this phenyl ring present on the structure, the paramethyl group means at the para position if methyl group has been attached, then there is decrease in the activity, that is approximately half. But para substitution of phenyl ring with OH group increases activity. The phenyl group can be replaced by small heterocyclic rings also. to retain the activity. If you see the metabolism of triamiterine get converted or get metabolized into its two metabolites. Triamiterine is more than 70% absorbed on oral administration. The diuretic effect occurs rapidly, that is near about in 30 minutes, and reaches a peak plasma concentration in 2 to 4 hours with a duration of action of more than 24 hours. Triamiterine is extensively metabolized to 4-hydroxytriamiterine and its sulfate conjugate, both of which, these are the major metabolites, are still active as diuretics. So you can see these substitutions, that is hydroxy and this sulfuric acid substitutions are both are active as diuretics. So both the drug and its metabolites are excreted in the urine. Where this triamiterene is used, or what is their its therapeutic applications? Triamiterene is useful in combination with a thiazide or loop diuretic in the treatment of edema or hypertension. It can also be used in Liddle syndrome, which is mainly due to an inherited mutation in epithelial sodium channel leading to increased activity of the receptor. Also may be treated with a sodium channel blocking drug such as triamiterene or amiloride. Triamiterene is administered initially in doses of 100 milligram twice a day. A maintenance dose for each patient should be individually determined. This dose may vary from 100 milligram a day to as low as 100 milligram every other day. Adverse effects: hyperkalemia, that is increase in potassium concentration. For this reason, potassium supplements are contraindicated and serum potassium levels should be checked regularly during the use of these drugs. Triamiterene also is used in combination with hydrochlorothiazide. Here, hypokalemic effect of the hydrochlorothiazide counters the hyperkalemic effect of the triamiterene. Other side effects are nausea, vomiting, and headache. Second example of this class of drugs, that is directly acting potassium sparing drugs or diuretics, is amiloride. This is the structure of amiloride. Amiloride is an aminopyrazine structurally related to triamiterene as an open chain analog. It has no effect on the action of aldosterone. Oral amiloride is approximately 50% absorbed with a duration of action of 10 to 12 hours, which is slightly longer than that of the triamiterene. Although triamiterene is extensively metabolized, approximately 50% of amiloride is excreted unchanged. Renal impairment can increase its elimination half-life. SAR of amiloride: optimal diuretic activity is observed when the sixth position is substituted with chlorine. The amino group at third and fifth positions are unsubstituted. The guanidino-nitrogen are not substituted with alkyl group. Then the activity will be retained. Like triamiterene, amiloride combined with a thiazide or loop diuretic is used to treat edema or hypertension. Aerosolized amiloride has been shown some benefit in improving mucociliary clearance in patients with cystic fibrosis. So as a aerosol formation, if you are going to use, it can actually clear or can naturally remove mucociliary clearance in case of the cystic fibrosis. As with triamiterene, the most serious side effect associated with amiloride is hyperkalemia, and it also has the other side effects associated with triamiterene. The dose of amiloride is 5 to 10 mg per day, as it is more potent. Amiloride also is combined with hydrochlorothiazide in a fixed dose combination. The second class in potassium sparing diuretics is aldosterone antagonists or mineralocorticoid receptor antagonists. The adrenal cortex secretes a potent mineralocorticoid called aldosterone, which promotes salt and water retention and potassium and hydrogen ion excretion. Aldosterone exerts its biological effects through binding to The mineralocorticoid receptor, a nuclear transcription factor. Aldosterone is the most potent than other mineralocorticoids. Its ability to cause increased reabsorption of sodium and chloride ion and increased potassium ion excretion is approximately 3000 fold that of hydrocortisone. A substance that antagonizes the effect of aldosterone could conceivably be a good diuretic drug. These drugs are also classified as potassium sparing diuretics, for example, spironolactone and eplerenone. This is the structure of spironolactone. You can see the aldosterone aldol form and hemiacetal form. So you can see that it is a structural analog of this aldosterone. Spironolactone competitively inhibits aldosterone binding to the mineralocorticoid receptor, thereby interfering with reabsorption of sodium and chloride ions and the associated water. Mineralocorticoid receptor antagonist activity is dependent on the presence of a lactone ring on C17 and a substituent on C7 in spironolactone and structurally related compounds. So here you can say at C17 there is a lactone ring and at C7 there is a substitution. So these two substitutions actually are important for the antagonist activity. Interaction of C7 unsubstituted agonists such as aldosterone with a methionine residue in the mineralocorticoid receptor ligand binding domain is important for receptor activation and subsequent transcription. However, this interaction is sterically hindered by C7 substituent on aldosterone antagonists, thereby leaving mineralocorticoid receptors in an inactive conformation. The most important renal site of these receptors and hence the primary site of action of spironolactone is in the late distal convoluted tubule and at collecting duct. In pharmacokinetic of this spironolactone, on oral administration, approximately 90% of the dose of spironolactone is absorbed and is significantly metabolized during its first passage through the liver to its major active metabolite, canrenone, which is interconvertible with its canrenoate anion. Canrenone is an antagonist to aldosterone and exists in equilibrium with its ring open form, canrenoate. The canrenoate anion is not therapeutically active but acts as an aldosterone antagonist because of its conversion back to canrenone, which exists in the lactone form. Canrenone has been suggested to be the active form of spironolactone as an aldosterone antagonist. The formation of canrenone, however, cannot fully account for the total activity of spironolactone. Where this spironolactone can be used or what are the therapeutic applications of spironolactone? Spironolactone is useful in treating edema resulting from primary hyperaldosteronism and refractory edema associated with secondary hyperaldosteronism. Hyperaldosteronism means the increased quantity of aldosterone. Spironolactone is considered to be the drug of choice for treating edema resulting from cirrhosis of the liver. The dose of spironolactone is 100 mg per day given in single or divided doses. Another use of spironolactone is co-administration with the potassium depleting diuretic like thiazide or loop diuretic to prevent or treat diuretic induced hypokalemia. However, it should not be combined with potassium sparing diuretics, for example, trimetherine or amiloride, as they are having similar action. Spironolactone can be administered in a fixed dose combination with hydrochlorothiazide for this purpose, but optimal individualization of the dose of each drug is recommended. In adverse effects, spironolactone shows hyperkalemia. Spironolactone may cause hypersensitivity reactions, gastrointestinal disturbances, and peptic ulcer. It also has sexual side effects like gynecomastia, decreased libido, and impotence. It can also occur and are due to the non-selective binding of spironolactone to the androgen receptor, glucocorticoid receptor or progesterone receptor. Thank you.